Always exciting when we can introduce a brand new segment to SportsCenter with Jay Onrait, Insider Trading, the much later after show. We're joined by our hockey analyst, Dave Poulin. And Dave, on Insider Trading, the boys confirmed Pierre Luc Dubois, through his agent Pat Brisson, says he will not sign a long-term extension in Winnipeg. This is something that every single person in the hockey world already knew. He is an RFA now. He'll soon be a UFA. He's looking for a trade. Now, you got to believe that Kevin Cheveldayoff could get a ton back for this guy, especially if he could somehow attach an extension to this trade. How would you handle it if you're Chevy, Dave?
Well, I think you've got to be upfront and right out in the marketplace. And if you're a Stanley Cup contender, like if you're really close, you might look at it and say, well, I'm going to use Pierre Luc Dubois as my own rental. I don't think Winnipeg is that close. And it's a chance to take an asset that you acquired by giving up Patrick Laine and get a great return for it. And so if I'm looking at the situation, you know, and he is the one that's proposed this, and call it the Matthew Tkachuk model, if you will. It's not the first time it happened, but the most recent time a high-profile player has told the team with a year left that he's not going to sign. So the precedent is certainly there, and I think you're going to see more of this, Jay, where players are taking control of their own situations. And there's a roll of the dice involved for the player here. He could have long-term security. He could have a big number. He could essentially set himself up for life with Winnipeg. He's choosing to pursue something else. He's taking a risk as well. But I do think moving forward, you're going to see more situations like this.
And Dave, you know, Darren Dreger talked about it. It's not just Pierre Luc Dubois. Lots of talk about Connor Hellebuyck potentially being available. Lots of talk about Mark Scheifele and certainly Blake Wheeler as well. And when you talk about those four players, you're thinking, well, this is the core of the Winnipeg Jets team. They must be rebuilding. But you still have Kyle Connor. You still have Josh Morrissey. You still have Nick Ehlers. I mean, is it truly going to be a rebuild? Because I don't get the sense that Winnipeg wants to rebuild, Dave.
I don't think they have to, Jay. If I just take the first three names you mentioned, and you said Pierre Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele, and Connor Hellebuyck, the one I would like to keep is the goaltender because they're so hard to acquire. So if you were to go to Connor Hellebuyck and say, okay, we're going to make moves with these two players, in return, we're going to get a top pairing defenseman. We have a good defense now. We have a guy named Josh Morrissey. We have Brendan Dillon. We have Neil Pionk. We have a good core. But we're going to add a top guy, a top defensive guy. We're going to make your job that much easier, Connor Hellebuyck. And we've got some young kids coming. Chaz Lucius is coming. Rutger McGroarty. Cole Perfetti's already there. Brad Lambert's coming. You've got a young group, and then you've got a core of guys still there. You've got arguably one of the best checking lines in the league in Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton, and Morgan Barron on the left. Nino Niederreiter is still there. So you've still got, in addition to the players you talked about, the makings of a very good hockey team here. I don't think this is a total rebuild at all. And, you know, use the re-words however you want to. Recalibrate, remodel, retool, whatever re-word you want to use. You're trying to get better. This is not a right down to the bone, right back up at all in Winnipeg. There are still a lot of good players there.
You know, Dave, because you were both a player in the National Hockey League and an executive in the National Hockey League, I'm really curious to get your answer to this question because Vladislav Gavrikov, as Chris Johnston reported, was actually the one who wanted the shorter-term deal that they signed that extension with the Kings on Wednesday. So it's a 2-year deal, just under $12 million. But the Kings wanted to go longer term with Gavrikov. He was a great fit for them down the stretch, no question. My question for you, though, Dave, is do you see more players gambling the way Gavrikov's camp is, hoping that if the cap does go up in a few years, it makes more sense to sign a shorter-term deal now, maybe a few less long-term deals this summer because of that, Dave, do you think?
I think that's a definite, Jay. I really do. He's 27 years old. He's going to put himself back in the marketplace at 29. And once again, this has happened before. Look at Austin Matthews. He put himself back in the market after 5 years. He could have taken 8. He could be 3 more years after this year in Toronto. He chose not to do it then. And Gavrikov's a little bit different. He doesn't have the base, the volume of dollars that some other guys have, but he's made about $10 million. He'll make $12 million more with these 2 years. And at 29 years old, when that type of defenseman has a longer runway with experience, he's going to put himself back into a market, and no one really knows what's going to happen But everyone, just pure math, the cap is going to go up because escrow is going to be paid off for the money that was, stripped down during the pandemic. So just pure logic, it's going to go up. You're taking a chance, and say you're a 9% guy of the cap and another $6 million goes in and you get 9% more of $6 million over a long period of time. It's a lot of money.
Yep.
But yes, it's a roll of dice, Jay. And I will tell you, I did it once in my career. You had to be 31 years old to be an unrestricted free agent. I got into my last year, and I got halfway through the year, and I was having a great year, and I played every game, and they came to me and said, we would like to extend you by a year. And I said, I'm the one that's rolled the dice for the first half of this year. I've put myself on the line. You didn't want to do it last summer.
Yep.
I'm having a good year. I'm going to take my chances. And I was able to secure a 2-year contract out in the market, and it worked out very well for me. So I've done it, albeit a little bit different circumstances, but at a more advanced age, if you will, I put myself on the line.
Sounds like you are a trailblazer, as I always knew you were, Dave Poulin. July the 1st cannot come soon enough. It's been a fun
a little different scenario there, but it was, I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I think you're going to see these players, with the volume of dollars they're able to acquire in a short period of time, put themselves on the market more often. Yeah,
you make a lot of sense. A lot easier to bet on yourself, too, when you're Gavrikov and you got $22 million in the bank at the age of 29. You're still got that security there, so it's a nice thing to have. Dave, always a pleasure to chat with you.